Today, I'm going to continue our new tradition here in 2025 of sharing YouTube comments. I've got 4 comments to share with you and discuss today. One is, lost my job as a contractor. The next one is, what if a company closes? The next is, what if you used the funds incorrectly? Uh-oh. And the last one is, yes, but the 2-year grace period. Did your small business receive a COVID economic injury disaster loan during the pandemic? If so, today's video is for you. If not, today's video is not for you. Please scroll on by because we just really are seriously psychically wounded when you comment, what the hell is an EIDL? I'm Trevor, the EIDL expert. Thank you for tuning in. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, which is more than 70% of you folks watching our free videos, could you please subscribe to the channel? And when you do that, you're telling YouTube that you find value in this video. And YouTube, Uncle Al of the algorithmic world at YouTube will share this video with other small business owners just like you who have questions and who are searching for answers here on YouTube about the COVID EIDL program. And as I have checked very recently this morning, there's no one else doing videos about this program in the way that we do them. So please, if you believe in the quality of this video, in the value of this information, the value of the expertise and advice, and you want this channel to continue sharing these videos for free, please do the least payment you can do, which is hitting the thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. If you have a few pennies you want to pony up because you need a special type of assistance with your COVID EIDL, there is a link in the description, takes you to our website where you will find the products, which are guidebooks, our EIDL resource hub, and services, which for the month of July are 1-hour consulting calls that we offer as the EIDL experts to help you navigate the craziness of SBA. Alrighty, as a quick update, I said guidebooks. Here's just 4 of the what we call blueprint guidebooks that we've recently published. One is about closing your business. Another one is about the short-term payment assistance program with my expert advice on how to improve your chances of getting approved with the dysfunctional SBA, including a template that you can use to put in your own information about the temporary financial challenges for your business and the format for that letter. What we discovered during the pandemic, and even with clients after the pandemic we've worked with, is, and that's why we have templates, we discovered that a lot of people tend to do a lot of storytelling and a lot of emotional infusion into their requests and explanations, and a lot of fear and a lot of begging. And I don't do that because I worked on government lending for 30 years. I've worked on the SBA COVID program now for 5 years. That's why the template that we have, it's not something you just copy and paste and sign. We don't do those. That's I don't want to call that fraudulent, but to me that seems unethical. But the template helps you because it gives you that very basic, logical, commonsensical format, and then you're going to put in there the information about your business. What's the temporary challenge you're facing and what's your plan to overcome that? That's our short-term payment assistance guidebook. We have a guidebook about compliance. I did a video recently where I had met a woman at a party. I'll call her Miss D, and she is here in Connecticut with a vacation home she purchased, but she has her business in Malibu, California, damaged by the wildfire, and she's in the process of getting an SBA disaster loan. And I warned her that because of that request, the SBA would most likely audit her COVID loan. And if they found discrepancy or found her out of compliance with the terms of the COVID loan, she could potentially be declined for the disaster loan. So we have a guidebook called Compliance so that you can read your loan agreement, understand it, and know what you are required to do when you have a COVID EIDL. Lastly, we have I said earlier, we have a guidebook about closing your business, but we also have another guidebook, which is what we call imminent business closure. And in that guidebook, it's more about the fact that you absolutely know you've exhausted every strategy, every option, every smart idea you can come up with or you can find on the bookshelf to help you get your business back on track, get more customers, get more revenue, better quality employees, whatever the issues are. But you have come to the realization that it is time to hang up your hat and ride off into the sunset, because this business that you have just is not going to work much longer. And because you have the ability to kind of look months ahead, maybe a year or two ahead, to understanding you have to close it down, it's a hard conversation to have with yourself. We have a guidebook for you if you have a COVID EIDL, which lays out strategies on how to prepare for closing your business with the COVID EIDL and what to expect in terms of paying off that COVID EIDL, long-term consequences if you default for not payment, selling assets to pay off the loan balance, continuing to pay it out of your own money if the business is closed. All of that. We've covered all those bases, and all of those are in our different guidebooks. Again, link in the description. Let's do our first comment today. Okay, this is from Tina Ariola 9275. Hi, Tina, and thanks for being a supporter of our channel. I hope you're subscribed. I hope you're one of the 3 out of 10 who watch our videos who are subscribed. Tina sadly tells us that lost my job as a contractor temporarily until I find work, so I haven't been able to make my payments in about 3 months. How do I get out of this if I even can? $88,000 is the amount of the loan, but of course with daily interest, I'm sure it's probably still that. All caps, help. Okay, Tina, in terms of help, specific help, again, we have guidebooks, and you can always book a 1-hour call for the month of July if you'd like to speak to me directly. Because you say here, lost my job as a contractor temporarily. So if we did a 1-hour call, I would kind of focus on that primarily to understand, is this something that happens all the time? Is your work as a contractor, is this seasonal? I'm going to also ask you, Tina, why are you a contractor? Is this something that some 21st century corporate scam popped onto your head, what I call the 1099 scam of corporate America, where they've convinced a whole cadre of Americans that they should get paid on 1099. Oh, you get more money in your paycheck every week. Yeah, but you've just become a business owner, and they're not allowed to tell you as a 1099 employee how to work or when to work or where to work, because you are independent. But they treat you like you're an employee. So that would be a question, Tina, that I would have on the 1-hour call. And then once I have the answer to those questions, again, the customized advice I'd give you would be to create strategies for you to manage this, because does this happen frequently? Is this truly only a one-time temporary thing? And how can you get through the next 3 months? The second piece of advice I can give you right here on the video, Tina, if you have not already done so, you should request a short-term payment assistance, because you are an ideal candidate. You say you haven't been able to make payments in 3 months. That means approximately 90 days. According to the SBA.gov website, to be eligible for short-term payment assistance, you cannot be more than 120 days delinquent. So you'd be eligible for that, assuming that you don't go to 120 days. And it is a temporary situation. Our next comment is from March Grayley. Hi, March Grayley. Thanks for being a viewer of our channel. What if a company closes but the loan was under $25,000, no collateral or personal guarantee? Are there any steps or risks to the former owner? March, I would call your attention to various videos we've previously done about personal guarantee. Notably, I don't know here if you are a sole proprietor. If you have the protection of an LLC or other type of corporate business formation entity, then risks are minimal. But if you're a sole proprietor, there are serious risks, even though the loan is under $25,000. Next is from Mr. Kogwi. Hello, Mr. Kogwi. What if you used funds that were not related to your business? Oh, no. That's bad. It's bad, Mr. Kogwi. I was told I was not able to do a Chapter 7 as they would audit me and probably criminalize me. Thank you. Okay. Number one, I don't have a lot of detail here. So again, I would recommend, Mr. Kogwi, either you purchase one of our guidebooks that specifically talks about allowable use of funds and compliance, or book a 1-hour call. The reason I say that is because you noticed my first reaction to your first sentence was, what if you use funds that are not related to your business? But I know, based upon hundreds of conversations I've had with small business owners after the pandemic, very often, and in fact, just yesterday I did a 1-hour call with a business owner who was concerned about how he used the money. And typically I ask this question. So Mr. Kogwi, ask yourself this question. when you say use the funds that were not related to your business, define not related to your business. Using the funds, was it specific to the pandemic? Restaurants never had to buy PPE before the COVID pandemic. Nobody had to buy plexiglass to put at the bar in between patrons or at customer service counters in a lawn repair shop, in between the customer and the customer service rep, disinfecting warehouses, disinfecting restaurants. I remember we were washing bags of potato chips in the first days of this thing because nobody knew how to deal with this thing. What does that mean when you say not related to your business? Because if it was specific to COVID, then I think an argument can be made if you document it correctly. And we have a guidebook on that too, how to prepare for an audit. If you document it correctly, you may be able to justify the use of the money. On the other hand, if you bought a Lamborghini or if you invested in the stock market or did some other crazy shit with that money that was clearly outside of the scope of business operations expenditures, then you didn't use the money correctly. But you'll notice I didn't yet say you're a criminal because unlike whoever else this was that gave you this advice, it sounds like you spoke to an attorney about bankruptcy, and that person told you they'll audit you and probably criminalize you. Well, I'm not sure that attorney, and I've got an upcoming video about attorneys, and you'll see why I'm saying this. I'm not sure that attorney did the proper due diligence in terms of gathering information from you the way I would on a 1-hour call to say, okay, this is how you used the money, and so therefore you're in jeopardy. I'm not an attorney, so please consult an attorney to confirm what I'm saying to you. This is not legal advice. I understand from bankruptcy attorneys I've spoken to, and I've now spoken to several on the 1-hour calls with some of our clients. It is standard procedure in most all bankruptcies that the court assigns a trustee to make sure there are no assets that can be recoverable. In fact, the trustee gets paid a bonus if they recover assets. And if those assets can be converted into cash, thus lowering the amount that gets discharged in the bankruptcy. That's what I've been told by bankruptcy attorneys. Please confirm this with your bankruptcy attorney. So when you say they would audit me, my understanding also from those same attorneys is that the trustee is not there to verify that you used the money in compliance with the SBA regulations, as much as making sure that all recoverable cash can be used to pay down the amount before the debt is discharged in bankruptcy. Does that mean the court might not report you? I don't know. I don't have that experience. I can't say that to you. Does it mean the SBA would audit you? Possibly. But again, when you say the funds were not used in relation to your business, what does that mean? And here's the other element I discovered on many calls with small business owners. It turns out when people say to me, I used the money this way to make my mortgage payment, Trevor, I used my money to pay my car payment. In further conversation, as I ask more detailed, customized, specific questions, I find out they were paying those bills out of their salaries. A salary that you received as a small business owner was a perfectly acceptable and allowable use of the COVID funds because it's a business operating expense. The difference would be, of course, if in 2019 and 2018 and 2017 you'd been paying yourself $32,000 a year, and then when you got the COVID loan, you suddenly paid yourself $85,000 a year. Unless you have a way of actually justifying that through some kind of performance in the business where you, or a contract or something in writing before the pandemic where you could say, yeah, but I was supposed to get that bonus, so it was considered a normal operating expense. But if you just, arbitrarily gave yourself a $50,000+ or more increase in your salary, that would definitely raise eyebrows in an SBA audit situation. I would encourage you to either book a call or buy our guidebook on how to prepare for an audit. Our last comment is from Doug R. Moe. Okay, Doug, is that a guitar? It looks like Doug's playing guitar. Yay, guitar player. I'm a guitar player too, Doug. Okay, Doug tells us, yes, but the 2-year grace period accrued like $30,000? What document does SBA provide for interest incurred? SBA did say interest would be incurred during grace period. Doug, we have done a previous video, actually I think it was February of this year, where we did a video called Read Your Loan Agreement, because when you ask us what document does SBA provide for interest, it's in the loan agreement. It literally states all payments will be first applied to interest in the event that there's deferred interest, because the disaster loan program upon which the COVID EIDL was based allowed people, as a standard part of the program, to defer interest. I think originally it was 6 months for a disaster loan. And I believe that same standard applied to the COVID loans. I don't remember. There's so much about the COVID pandemic programs, the COVID EIDLs, the PPP, the shuttered venue, the restaurant relief, employee retention credit. There's so much. What's the phrase I used to say when I was a mortgage banker? I've forgotten more about these programs than most people know, including attorneys, which is why if you have an attorney or an accountant, please share our videos with them. They need to buy our EIDL Resource Hub because they don't know what they don't know. And it's harming all of you business owners when you go to your professionals for advice. And I did a 1-hour call yesterday, and the guy described to me the conversation he had with an attorney, and my hair stood up on end, like something out of a science fiction movie. It was just the stuff the attorney said was, and the attorney, by the way, has a COVID EIDL and apparently does not know how to read a legal document, notably the loan agreement. Back to Doug. The answer to your question, the loan agreement tells you that the interest gets applied first with your payments. And once you have exhausted paying any interest accrued during deferred payment periods, whether it's 6 months, 2 years, which, by the way, Doug, it was not a 2-year grace period. It was a 2-year, 6th month, 2.5-year grace periods, 30 months altogether, right? So if you took advantage of the deferment, then that interest accrued like a taxi meter in New York City. I don't know how many of you have been to New York City, but when we used to get in the yellow cabs and it hits the meter, you see the clock starts running. Same thing with the interest in the COVID loan. The day that you signed the loan agreement, the SBA considered that the dispersal date. We see comments like this a lot, and I want to thank all of the folks who shared these comments with us and allowing me to respond to them here. And I hope that all of you found these comments useful. And if you did, please consider sharing this video with your accountant and your attorney. If your small business is struggling and bankruptcy is not an option, you do not want to get a job working for somebody else. You do not want to shut it down. You want to try to find a way to save your business. And you need inspiration, ideas, operational strategies, marketing strategies, business fundamentals for your business. We cover all of those on our Simple Sense for Small Business channel. We're trying to build that channel up. Please pop on over there, subscribe to the channel, watch a few dozen hours of video time, even if you just run it in the background, because that helps us to build that channel. But forget about us. Forget about me and Linda Ray, who, by the way, is sitting in the next room waiting to do a video for the Simple Sense channel when I'm done here. For you, if you are that business owner who does not want to give up, you do not want to work for somebody else, you do not want to default on the COVID loan, you want to save your business, you want to rebuild it, you want to change direction, you want to do something new and exciting and keep the same business, go to our Simple Sense for Small Business channel, where you will find literally hundreds of videos that will inspire, teach, educate, inform. I've got so many words. And on that note, I will stop with the words. I will stop talking, and I will say, I'm Trevor, the EIDL expert. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you on the next video.